first thing to do is identify this setup bar, right? So we have this setup bar here identified, and this setup bar could be, any set of conditions. So in this particular case, what we're looking for is a pullback to a moving average here. So we have a pullback to this moving average, and that's what defines the setup bar, but there could be a lot of things. I've had people define a setup bar as two moving averages crossing each other. And at that crossover, when those moving averages cross over each other, the bar that occurs on, that's the setup bar. So whatever the condition is that defines the setup bar, could be anything. So that's not really what the question is about. So the question is about that, once you have a setup bar defined, then the question is about, using the high or the low price of that setup bar, and then look for some kind of a breakout of price. So in this example, we're looking for, the first bar to break the low price of the setup bar. So we're looking for, the next bars, the first bar to break out below the low of the setup bar. Now, this can be done in BloodHound if there is a limited number of bars that can be waited for, right? Now, BloodHound doesn't track the low of the bar. BloodHound doesn't track the low of the setup bar, or the high. If you really needed to, if you weren't sure how many bars, that you wanted to wait for price to break out, then you would need an indicator to identify the setup bar and then track the high and low prices, right? Just as, actually we can see on this screenshot, this is perfect here, right? So we can see that there's also a swings indicator on this chart, right? So an indicator is tracking the swing high and is tracking the swing low, right? So this swing high bar and swing low bar, you could also say that is a setup bar, right? That's a swing point. That's a swing point bar. And so, BloodHound uses a swing indicator to know, what is the low price of that swing point bar or the high price of that swing point bar, right? So again, you really need an indicator, to track prices of some kind of a special setup bar or some kind of special conditional bar. So, going back to this setup bar here, BloodHound can track this setup bar's, high and low prices for, a limited number of bars. After that, then you really need an indicator that would identify the setup bar and then plot the high and low prices of that setup bar, right? Just the same way that a swing indicator plots the high and the low, for the swing high and swing low bars. Right? So I'm able to, build this, or BloodHound's able to do this because the question that was asked is, is we want to identify, and get a signal when price, breaks the low or the high of the setup bar within 5 bars, right? So there's a limit to it. So the market basically has 5 bars to break the setup bar low or break the setup bar high, right? So since there's a limit to this, that can be done, and BloodHound can do that. So, all right. So with that, let's get to work. The conditions that identify that the setup bar is we're looking for a pullback to an EMA 20 here. So let's get a couple of arrows going here. Let's see, I think that might be one. It's kind of hard to tell there. Actually, no, that wouldn't be it. So let's say possibly this, right? So the bar needs to, we're looking for the bar wick to pull back and touch the EMA 20. So that would be one. That would be one. Yeah, that could be a setup bar. And it looks like that might be a setup bar, right? So we're looking for these pullbacks here. Let's see. Yeah, I'll work on this area in my chart here, right? Because I have a short pullback bar and a long pullback bar or setup bar here. Yeah. All right. So with that, let's get BloodHound open and we'll get started. First thing I'm going to do is put a file name in BloodHound. So let's see. Let's use last week's name here. And today is the 13th. There we go. All right. Okay. So now that we have a name for our BloodHound system, now I'm going to start working on the logic board here. All right, and I'm going to create a new logic template here. Let's see, what should I call this? Setup bar breakout. All right, well, so first I'm going to have to take some time to create this kind of pullback system before we can actually get to the core of the question, you know, identifying price, you know, breaking the high or low of the setup bar here. So let's see. So this is kind of this will be kind of a demonstration of two questions in one, right? So I'll build the signals that will identify, you know, these pullback bars here. And so the first thing I'm going to do is, you know, the first kind of thing of a pullback, you know, is you need price to move away from your moving average, right? So you kind of need this separation between your moving average and the bars, right, and the market price. So I'm simply going to look for that here, look for that separation. And so to do that, I'm going to use a comparison solver. And so let's see, I just kind of need to make an arbitrary decision here on how far I think price needs to move away from the moving average. And I'm gonna go something like 12 ticks for now. And so our moving average is an EMA 20. Okay, so there's a name for the solver here. And actually, I'll be more precise here. I'm going to make sure that the close, let's see, actually, no, let's see here. Let's make sure we're going to use the low of the bar for basically for a long pullback, or the high of the bar if it's a short pullback. So essentially, right, I'm going to make sure that the low price of these bars pulls far enough away from the moving average, right? So there's lots of ways you could do this. You know, you could use the closing price of the bar to determine, you know, whether price is pulled far enough away from your moving average, you know, or you could use the low of the bar, or you could use the high of the bar, right? So you have to make some kind of decision, you know, what bar price do you want to use to, you know, to determine that price is pulled, has made this far enough separation from the moving average, you know, before you get this pullback here. All right, so I've decided I'm just going to go really conservative and use the low of the bar or the high of the bar, depending if it's a long pullback or a short pullback. Okay, so with that, input A, that's going to be our high and low prices. So I'm going to select price as my type. So for long, so if it's a long pullback, a long trend, then I'm using the low of the bar. And for a short, I'm going to be using the opposite price. So I'll select the high, and there we go. All right, so next, I said I wanted the low to be, what, 12 ticks away? Something like that. And then input B, that's going to be our moving average. So let's put the EMA in there. And there is our EMA. Let's add it down there and change it to a 20 period. All right, so good. I can see that I do actually have a couple of bars that managed to move 12 ticks or more away from our moving average. And let's see on the shorts here. So great. Got a couple of bars here as well. All right, next. So also, what's another component of defining a pullback is, how many bars will it take for price to do its pullback to the moving average here. So, over here, in this downtrend, I can see it actually took quite a few bars here. Yeah, price kind of very slowly pulled back here. Not a very clean pullback, but it did happen. All right, and the reason why we're kind of, we're creating all these rules here to define a pullback is, of course, we want to make sure that, when the wicks touch the EMA, we want to make sure that it's not when price is consolidating around the EMA, right? Obviously, there's no pullbacks here, but, the wicks, these bars are touching the EMA. So, all right, so to remove consolidation as a false signal, that's why we're, defining, this separation between price and the moving average, and also how many bars, so after this separation occurs, how many bars will it take for price to do its pullback to the moving average? So let's see here. Yeah, so this kind of took nine bars. That took quite a while here. So maybe this one may not work out. So I'll focus on this one, which is this uptrend pullback. So it's a lot cleaner. So this took 6 bars. Okay. All right, so 6 bars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Lookback Node. And basically this Lookback Node, what it's going to do is when we do get this separation, right? So these long signals here, we need to take these long signals and extend them forward in time until we get to the bar that touches, the EMA, until we get to the pullback bar, basically, right? So that's what I'm going to use this look back for. Is this look back will, so basically when we're at, you can think of this 2 ways. When the pullback bar occurs, then we can look back to see, did price give us our minimum separation, right? Or another way of thinking of it is, if you're looking at this bars, we need to take this condition, and extend it forward in time until the pullback bar occurs, right, or the setup bar. So that's what our look back will do. And let's see, I'm going to set the displacement to 0, so we don't need the displacement. What we do need is a 6-bar look back, and we're going to use the max mode for this. All right, so there we go. So we can see we took this separation signals here, and we extended them forward. And that's right. It's a look back period starts. So remember, a look back period starts with a value of 1. So you need to take the number of bars you need and add 1 to that. So I need to actually do 7. Change my look back period to 7 there. And so now, right, so basically this separation condition here has been extended forward onto the pullback bar, right, or the bar that touches our moving average. Okay, so now let's define the bar that touches our moving average here. So we're going to need another comparison solver. And I'm just kind of thinking of the names here. All right, so this works good. All right, so this solver here is going to be looking for the low or the high of the bar, to touch the EMA 20 here. So this is going to look very similar to the previous comparison solver that we set up. Let's see. Oh, wait, sorry. Input A, that's going to be price here. So again, for a long signal, we're looking for the low of the bar to touch that EMA 20. And for a short signal, we're looking for the high price of the bar to touch the EMA 20. And then down here in input B, this is going to be our EMA 20. All right, let's change the period to 20 there. Okay, so now if you look, our signals are actually kind of opposite here, right? So the bar that we want to identify has no long signal on it. And so that's because our outputs need to be reversed here. So we're going to reverse the outputs here. All right, so if we... Yeah, actually, let me clear out the shorts here. Right. So there we go. We can see, right, when those wicks are touching the EMA, kind of breaking through the EMA. There we go. Those have been identified there. All right. So now when we add the short, right, now this is going to look kind of messy because, what is a downtrend pullback? If we go back here, yeah, there we go. So so we can see this bar actually did not touch the EMA because there's no long output from BloodHound. Right down here, there's no short output, but over here, there's a short output, right? When the high of the bar does break through the EMA, right? So when the bar finally touches that EMA, there we go. We're getting a short output here. So, yeah, if we wanted to, we could clean this up a little bit. Yeah, we could identify if the opposite end of the bar is you know, on the other side of the moving average here to kind of clean this up, right? So for example, if we wanted to get rid of all these long signals here, you know, so when we get this right, when we get this downtrend pullback bar, you know, if we wanted to clean the signal up and get rid of this long trend, we can do that with another comparison solver. So let's do that. So let's see, this again, we're going to use price, and let's see, this time, so I'm looking at basically a downtrend pullback bar. So for this time, we're looking at the low of the bar. So for my short, I'm going to use the low of the bar. For long, I'm going to use the high of the bar. And again, we need our EMA 20 set in here. Like so. And let's see. No, that's not quite going to work. Yeah, shoot. This was not going to work. Because if you look, this bar still has a long output here. So I'm trying to get rid of these long outputs here. Yeah, I'll try another trick here. So I'll try another trick. So what I'm going to do is this previous bar, I'm going to check, I'm going to check the low of the previous bar to make sure that the low of the previous bar hasn't broken through our EMA, and I might be able to use that to kind of filter out. So again, to show you, I'm trying to get rid of all of these long outputs here, so that way we get a little cleaner long only signal on this pullback bar here, right? Okay, so in order to clean this up, it's going to require two solvers here. So let's see here. And yeah, I think this is going to work here. Okay. All right. So next thing I need to do is, right, I'm identifying this previous bar to make sure that its low is above the EMA, right? I'm going to use this as a filter to clean up, right, this solver's output here. So remember, this is the solver that is identifying the bar that touches the EMA, right? But I wanted to clean up the short output here. So this solver, if you notice, there's no short output. Since there's no short output, that is what will clean up the other solver here. But this is identifying, remember, I'm looking at the previous bar to make sure the previous bar's low hasn't touched the EMA yet. So I need to move the signal from this bar forward onto the next bar here. So I can do that one of two ways. I can grab a Lookback Node and do it that way, or I can actually use some functions within the solver here. So remember, price has a lookback period, and if I can set that to 2, and then I can take the indicator and use the displacement function and set that to 1, like so. And that basically took, right, you can see now it took the signals and shifted them forward 1 bar. And so now I need an AND node. So with this AND node, so basically it took a combination of two comparison solvers to give us, right, this kind of cleaner signal here on the bar touch. Yep, so same back here. So this isn't it. This is just identifying when the bar touches the EMA. And so remember, going back here to this consolidation area, we still need the other conditions so that way we don't get signals, right, when price is oscillating and consolidating around this moving average here. So let's go back here. All right, so remember, here's our separation of price here. So if I now connect these two conditions together, that should give us a nice clean looking pullback bar. So let's take a look. So the good thing is that there's no signals here, right, during this consolidation area. And yeah, let's see here and over here. Yeah, price probably didn't pull far enough away from our moving average here for those to be considered. But yeah, here we go. Price definitely pulled far enough away, and then we got our pullback bar. So let's check a little further down here. Yeah, another one. And let's see what happened here. This looks nice and good. Let's see. All right. So remember, this is detecting our separation between the moving average and price, and basically, price did not pull back soon enough. Right? Remember, we had set a 6-bar limit here. Let's name this solver here. So this is a 6-back pullback kind of limiter here. So let's up this 1 extra bar so we get another signal here. Let's make it 7 bars, and we'll increase our look back period. All right, so basically that's telling us is that somewhere back here we had our 12-tick separation, and then we extended that forward by 7 bars to wait for the bar to touch. So now we should get a signal. There we go. All right, so that one worked out. There. And let's look through the chart here and see if maybe we got some other signals to happen. All right, this is still good. No signals in this consolidation area, so that's still good. Oh, and there we go. We do now actually have this touch bar being identified now. So, all right. And of course, keep in mind that a big influence in these signals is the distance that we use. The separation distance obviously will influence how many pullback signals we get. So so again, I'm let's see, where is it? It's this solver here. So remember, this solver, I'm using 12 ticks here. So if we lowered this down to 10 ticks, we would probably get a lot more pullback signals. Okay, so anyways, we are now ready to move on to the actual question that was answered is, so we've identified basically, the quote setup bar, right? So we're using this pullback bar as our setup bar here. And so now what we're looking for is we're looking for price. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're looking for the next 5 bars to break the high, of this setup bar. And we can actually see it doesn't actually happen. So, and it needs to break it by 1 tick. All right, so something like that. So if I wanted to make this all fancy, so there we go. So the dashed line identifies the high of the bar, and then the solid line would be that 1 tick higher. So we need a bar to close above the solid line for this to actually get the signal. All right, so that's the final step. So let's take a look back here and see if we get one of those. Yes, here we go. Okay, so there we go. So the solid line would be approximately the price that needs to be broken. And of course, we can see that occurs on this bar here. All right, so let's see. This AND node here basically identifies the setup bar there. All right, so I'm going to have to move this back. I'm going to need some room here. Okay, so what we're doing a bunch of comparisons here. So how do we identify, when price breaks the setup bar? Let me grab an arrow here, right? So what we need to do is, we're trying to identify when the close of the bar closes 1 tick below the setup bar. Right, so we're doing a bunch of comparisons here. So we're going to be taking, so when this bar happens, so let's take a step back here. So we're going to be taking the close of this bar, right, and comparing it to this 1 tick offset from the setup bar, right? And we want to identify, when the close of the bar is actually below it, right? So in this case, that didn't happen. And then when we step forward another bar, we'll be doing the same thing. We'll be taking the close of this bar and comparing it. So remember, we're comparing it to the low of the setup bar. But now we're having to look back 2 bars now, right? So the first bar after here, we look back 1 bar, right? Because our from here to here, our look back bar, our setup bar is only 1 bar back. But, on the next bar, now we have to look back 2 bars to get the low of the setup bar, right? BloodHound has to look back 2 bars, right? And then if we had to go, let's say if we had to go to a 3rd bar, let's just kind of pretend that this second bar here didn't actually break the price. So if we had to wait for a 3rd bar, well, right on this 3rd bar, now BloodHound has to look back 3 bars to get the low of our setup bar, right? So as every bar progresses, BloodHound has to keep looking back 1 additional bar, right? Now BloodHound doesn't do that automatically. So normally that's why you need an indicator to identify the setup bar and plot the price forward in time, right? So that's normally why you need an indicator to do this, right? So with an indicator, what BloodHound does is BloodHound, you know, so let's just say the solid line, you know, was an indicator plotting that solid line there. Say that was an indicator plot. Something similar to like a swing high or a swing low or a swing low plot, right? Swing high or swing low plot. So, you know, having an indicator plot this price value is a lot easier to do in BloodHound, because on this, right, on this first bar here, BloodHound just compares the closing price of the bar to the bar plot on the same bar. And then if we step forward again, you know, again, BloodHound looks at the close of the bar and then compares it to the plot of the same bar, right? So if an indicator is plotting this price, you know, BloodHound just keeps comparing, you know, the current bar to the plot, and it doesn't have to look back, right? When BloodHound has to keep looking back one additional bar, you know, BloodHound can only do that so many times, right? There's a limit here, because BloodHound doesn't keep looking back automatically. We're going to have to basically build a group of logic that does all of these lookbacks here, all of these additional lookbacks. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to build a group of logic that looks back one bar, and then when we get to the second bar, right, second bar after our setup bar, we're going to build another group of logic that's going to look back 2 bars, and then another group of logic that's going to look back 3 bars, and then another group of logic that's going to look back 4 bars until we get to our 5th bar, right, which is our last bar here. So when we get to the 5th bar, then another group of logic will look back, you know, 5 bars here. All right, so we're going to need a bunch of comparison solvers here to do this. Let's see, I'll come up with a name here after I'm done building this. So what do we need? We need price again, you know, so detecting this breakout here, you know, what are we doing? We're taking the close of the bar and seeing, did the close of the bar, you know, is the close of the bar below our 1 tick offset from the setup bar? So we're taking the closing price, right, of the current bar. That's going to be bar 1. And input B, that's also going to be price, but this is going to be the price of our setup bar. So for a short, we're using the low of that bar, and for a long, we're using the high of that bar, but we need to set our look back to 2. Right, so this is going to be, let's adjust the chart here. Right, so this is what we're doing here. Is right, we're looking at the, let me grab something better here. So we're comparing the close, right, of the next bar. So that's what this is, the closing price of the next bar, the look back period of 1. And we're comparing back 1 bar, right, to the low of 1 bar back. And we also need, let's not forget this 1 tick difference here. And our outputs are set up correctly here. Let's see here. Yeah. So I want to get these labels to update correctly, right? You see how it says A less than B by 0 ticks. So that's not true because I actually put 1 tick in here. So if these labels don't update for you, what you can do is just, click on something else and then click back on the solver here. And now we can see the text has updated itself. It says A less than B by 1 tick. Right. So that is this 1 tick offset. All right. So that is the condition here for this first bar. Now, if we need to go to the second bar, so we're still looking at the current bar, but now we're looking back 2 bars. Right? We're looking back 2 bars to get the low of our setup bar. Okay, so let's see here. Let's put a name in this first. So let's see. So what are we doing here? So we're comparing the closing price of the bar, and then we're looking back 1 bar to the high or low, of 1 bar back. Let's see, actually, there's a 1 tick offset here. There, I'm going to use this as my name here. So we're comparing the close price. We want a 1 tick difference, to the high or the low for a short signal. We're using the low, with a look back of 1. All right, so that's the solver. Remember, that's the solver for this one. So now I'm going to build the solver for this one. So to do that, I'm going to make a copy of this solver here, right? Because pretty much everything, all these settings that we have, we need to look for the next bar, but we just need to increment our look back period here, right? So I'm going to make a copy of this solver there. So on the solver tab, right, I can see all the solvers I built, and so I'm going to select this one here, make a copy of it, and essentially I need to look back 2 bars now. I need a look back of 2 bars. So we're still comparing the close of the current bar. Remember the current bar always has a look back period of 1. Right. So again, think of this bar as our current bar, and we're comparing the closing price, but then we're comparing it to the high or low looking back 2 bars. Right? So we're looking back 1, 2 bars to get the high or low of that. So that's all we had to do is just increment this by 2. So I'm going to make a bunch more of these right now. Just change the name and then change our look back period. Oops. I hit the wrong button there. Okay, there we go. I want the copy button. There. All right, so again, I'm just incrementing the look back period Because remember, input B, so input B is always going to be our setup bar, right? So as the number of bars keep going forward, right, after the setup bar, we're having to look back one additional bar. So input A is always going to be the current bar's closing price, and then input B, we're incrementing the look back so that we can get the higher low of our setup bar. Like so. All right. So there's all my comparison solvers so that we can find when price breaks, right, our setup bar within 5 bars. So let's put all of those nodes on the board here, right? So I'm going to existing nodes, right? And you can see there's all the comparison solvers that I just built here. So I'm just gonna one at a time drop them on the logic board. Okay, and now I'll just separate them all out like so. All right. So now if I look at this one, and oh yeah, I accidentally hit the chart button here, so I need to refresh the chart. So let's get that done. There we go. Okay, let's get BloodHound back open here. So we're looking at this solver here, so let's take a look here. So we'll notice we do have an output, right, a short output on this second bar, right, because the close of this bar did close below, right, the low of the setup bar with that 1 tick offset there. So we should be, right? But remember, what this solver is doing is it's always doing that. So it's taking the close of this bar and it's basically doing this, right? Which is true. We can see the close of this bar. It definitely closed 1 tick below the low of 2 bars back, right? And same here. If we take this next bar, right, like so, so this solver by itself, really doesn't identify things. We need to combine other things with these solvers here. So, all right. So the next thing that we need is we need some lookback nodes here. So what I need to do is I need to take the setup bar signal, right? So we're looking at the setup bar signal. I need to take the setup bar signal and shift it forward 1 bar onto this bar to see, right, to identify this next bar as possibly, this bar is possibly breaking the low of our setup bar. And so to do that, I'm using the Lookback node here. So let's plug that in. And this time I am going to use the displacement function here. So the lookback is going to stay at 1, but I'm going to use the displacement function here. And then we need an AND node. So basically these 2 conditions together. So this lookback is taking the setup bar and extending it forward 1. Actually, let's take a look at that here. All right. So we're looking at the lookback node here, right? So it took the setup bar and shifted it forward 1 bar onto this bar. And let's see here. I like to name these to tell me what these lookback nodes are doing. So this is using a displacement of 1. There we go. So now if we look at this AND node, right, we should get nothing. This should be correct because this bar did not break the low of our setup bar. Right? So there shouldn't be a signal on this bar. So that's correct. However, if we go down to this next one, so I'm going to need another look back, like so. Right. So this look back node is going to have a displacement of 2. So we're going to set our displacement at 2. Right, so there we go. If we look at the chart, right, we took the signal from the setup bar and we shifted it forward 2 bars. So we're now identifying the second bar after the setup bar. Right, so think of these lookbacks as identifying each bar after the setup bar. And so now again, with an AND node, we're going to connect these two together, like so. And there, that is our actual signal right there. Right, so this is what we wanted to see because the close of this bar did break. Right, it broke below the setup bar with a 1 tick offset. Now the next bar and the next bar also did the same thing. So we will actually get signals on the following bars up until our 5 bar limit here. So I'm going to need some more look back nodes here. Let's grab an AND node, put that in there. Yep, there we go. So, yep, this third bar, you know, it closed right below the setup bar's low. Right. So remember that our solid line represents the setup bar's low with the 1 tick offset. So, yeah, so we should get a signal there. And we should get a signal on the next bar here. Let's connect that in. Yep, there we go. There's our signal. So again, the close of this bar, you know, it closed below our white line. So there's that. Right. And so we just have one last one to do here. And let's see, there's no signal, so, I need to connect up. There we go. Need to connect up the lookback node. There we go. There's our signal. All right. So, right, so we can see that, you know, as I mentioned earlier, basically I created, you know, I had to create 5 groups of logic here in order to identify the lookback node and extend its price basically forward in time by 5 bars. Right? So without an indicator plotting the without an indicator plotting the setup bar's low price, right? I have to create all of these groups of logic to do that. Right? And it's done. You know, so again, you know, it's done by adjusting, right, the look back period for input B, right? So, yeah, I just noticed I made a mistake. I need to, let's see here, increment this look back. Yeah. So let me go and make this adjustment here, right? So remember the first one here at the top, it started with a look back of 2. So the second one down should have had a look back of 3. The third one down should have had a look back of 4. And let me check the other ones here. So this look back, I'm sorry, this solver should have a look back of 5. And this last solver at the bottom should have a look back of 6. There we go. All right. There. And the last step, all right, so remember each of these AND nodes, identifies each bar after the setup bar. Right, so this AND node would only identify if the first bar after the setup bar, breaks the low or breaks the high. And then this AND node only identifies, right, if the second bar, breaks the setup bar's high or low. So what we need to do is connect all of them together with an OR node, like so. So that way we can see that all 5 bars. And there we go. Yeah. So we can see that basically all 4 of these bars had broken below the setup bar's low. So let's take a look at the chart here. Let's see what we have. All right, yeah, so no signal here. Oops. There we go. Yeah, so none of these bars closed above our setup bar. So that's good there. And we didn't get a setup bar here, so, and let's see here, yeah, we did get a setup bar there, but price didn't bounce off, so that's good, no signal. And if I remember, I think we had a setup bar here. No, we didn't have a setup bar there. Okay, so there's where we were working. Let's see. Yeah, there was a setup bar here. I think let's double check this here. So if we want to find our setup bar, we have to go back to this AND node here, and we can connect this forward. And okay, no, that didn't make it as a setup bar. Okay. Yeah, we're not getting a lot of setup bars, are we? Okay, there we go. All right, so there's 2 setup bars. And let's see if we had gotten a breakout from any of those bars. No, we did not. Okay. All right, so let me go find some more setup bars here. And here we go. Yeah, you know what? There's a good signal. There's a good chance we might get a signal on this long setup bar here. Okay, so let's connect back the OR node. And there we go. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Finally on the 5th bar. Yeah, we got the 5th bar closing above the setup bar's high by 1 tick. All right, so there's one. Let's see if we can find any more on here. Oh, great. Here's a bunch more setup bars. So let's connect up our our breakout signals and see. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Yep. Those bars clearly broke above the high of the setup bar. All right. I think we're good. So, yeah, so again, I just really want to emphasize that, when you're trying to track the price of bars, BloodHound can do that, but within a limited number of bars afterwards, right? So really, to properly do this, that's why you need indicators to track these prices, right? Just as a swing indicator, would track the swing high and plot that price forward in time, right? So if you want to use swing high, swing lows with BloodHound, as part of your conditions, right? You use a swing indicator. So kind of same thing here. If you have some kind of quote setup bar, and you're trying to track the high and low of that setup bar, for some kind of breakout or whatever the condition may be, it is really kind of best that you have an indicator to identify, your setup bar. But since the question said that, basically there was a 5-bar limit, for the breakout to occur, and so we were able to do this, BloodHound's able to do that because there is like a 5-bar limit, so of course, if you wanted it, if you wanted to be able to look for a breakout, for 10 bars, then you would have to create 10 groups of logic like this, right? So for every bar after the setup bar, that you want to look for that breakout, you need a group of logic, for every bar that you want to allow after the setup bar. So, all right. So with that, let me just pause for a moment, and I see there's questions in here. So let me read through these and see if there's any follow-up questions on this here. Okay, so yeah, I'm just reading Neil's comments here. Yeah, so this question was asked by Neil. So yeah, Neil's giving me some clarification here. So yeah, so in the screenshot here, yeah, okay, I see. Sorry, I didn't notice that at first. So I'm going to make a minor adjustment here to the system, but basically we're not looking for the close of the bar to break the setup bar's low. It's just any part of the bar. So in other words, if the low of any bar here, yeah, so we can see the short entry marked, that's actually the low price of the bar, had broken the setup bar's price. Yeah, okay. So let's go and make those adjustments here. And that ought to generate a lot of extra signals here. So let's see here. So all of these AND nodes, let me zoom in here. All right. So, okay, so we'll just say price. So it doesn't actually have to be the close. Let's see. So for long, it'd be high. Short would be low, the low price. Yeah, okay, so here we go. So really all we need, to adjust this correctly for Neil's use, we just need the high price, right, to touch or break one tick above the setup bar. So there we go. All right. And so let me just go and make the adjustment here for all of these other solvers. Here we go. And I think that does it. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so with that, let's take another look at the chart here. Okay, so great. We do have a signal here now. Let's take a look back here. Yeah, all right. And yeah, actually nothing changed here. Yeah, nothing changed there. Let's see. Let's take a look at this. So there's the high of our setup bar. Look at all those bars just touched it but didn't go one tick above it, except for the very last bar. Okay, so that's good. Let's see. Now this obviously didn't work out. And let's see. This long obviously didn't work out. And this long setup bar, no, didn't quite work out. Price touched it, but didn't go above it. And that one worked out. Nothing changed there. And all right, let's take a look at this. Let's see. This, yeah, this must be our setup bar. So there we go. All right, yeah, looks all good. Yeah, looks below the first bar after. Yeah, didn't break below the low there. Okay. All right, well that's all I have on this chart. All right, so with those, so again, let me just kind of reiterate. Basically, all of this, these 5 groups of logic here, is what allows Blackbird, to take the price of the setup bar and extend it forward in time. So that's kind of the key of getting all this to work here. And all right, let me see if there's any other comments or questions on this. Okay, yeah, Vladim's got a question about kind of cleaning up these signals here. Let me scroll back and find, yeah, so let's say right here, right, we have a bunch of signals in a row here, so how can we kind of clean these up so that we only see the first signal and we'll block the rest of these? So to do that, it's pretty simple. We can just grab a signal blocker. So that's exactly what the signal blockers is for. Connect the OR node into it. And so on our signal blocker here, let's zoom in. The only thing we really need to adjust here is the block signals 4, right? So the maximum number of signals that we could get are 5, right? Because remember this logic here only looks back 5 bars after the setup bar. So the most signals we could get in a row would be 5. So our block signals 4 just needs to be set to 5, which it is. That's the default setting there. All right, and so that's all we need to do there. And that's it. Let's see. I don't think we need to adjust any of these resets here. We could just turn them all off like so. Yeah, if anything, the reset that we would want to use would be input no signal. Yeah, input no signal. So, yeah, so input no signal, what that means is if we look at the signals, as long as signals are coming into the signal blocker, the blocker will keep blocking for 5 bars. But as soon as the signals stop, in other words, no input signal, or no signal, right? So we're using input, no signal, right? So on the first bar where there's no signal, that will reset the signal blocker so that it's not blocking signals anymore. So that's the only one that we would really need. So there we go. Let's see. No, that one happened on the 5th bar. Yeah, here we go. So I think two additional signals were blocked on this one here. Yeah, we got 1, 2, 3. So the signal happens on the 3rd bar. So the 4th and 5th bar, those signals were blocked. So, okay, guys, with that, if I don't see you tomorrow in tomorrow's workshop, then have a good weekend. All right, guys, bye-bye.